Thank you for tuning in to 5-Star Tips, where advisors can hear time-tested methods and proven strategies that top practices are using to achieve exceptional and sustainable success. We invite you to listen, take notes, and apply these methods to your practice today to generate better results tomorrow. Your host, Ken Unger, is the founder of the Academy of Preferred Financial Advisors. Ken is the industry's leading coach and trainer for mid to high-level financial advisors with almost 40 years of industry experience. Ken has trained more high-level success stories than any other coach. Ken is a thought leader for advisors who are looking to grow and run the industry's top client-centric practices. If you are ready to take your practice to the next level, stay tuned.
Welcome again to 5-Star Tips podcast, Proven Success Series. This 5-Star Tips podcast Proven Success Series is a series that's devoted to not just hopes and dreams, but actual success stories. Today, once again, we're in for a treat. Joining me is long-term member of the Academy of Preferred Financial Advisors, Anthony Scibetta. Anthony is the president and CEO and owner of Garden State Retirement Specialists. Anthony's been in this business for quite some time, and he's got a phenomenal story and some tremendous growth to share with you. So without hesitation, I'd like to introduce everybody listening to the podcast to someone who I truly respect for his outstanding accomplishments and for who he is as a person. One of the finer people you'll ever meet in life, Anthony Scibetta. Anthony, are you here?
Ken, thank you. That was very nice of you.
Good. Anthony, for our listeners, can you take us back? I know you started back in the business. Oh, you're going back over 30 years ago. So you started basically on the insurance side, but if you could take us through a quick 2-minute segment of started this year, evolved to here, and when we first met.
Started at Prudential in 1984. Got my life insurance licenses, and then didn't get my securities till 86, and really was retail until the late 80s. Then I went institutional, and next thing you know, I'm back into retail, and here we are into the 2000s, and my business hardly grew at all. I had, in 2005, when I started with your program, I had $5 million under management. That was it. And here we are today, 2020, over 100 million. And it's a lot to do, 100% to do with your direction and your team. I can give you details about that and the journey, but go ahead, Ken.
So we're going to dive into this, Anthony, because I know I met you in 2005. You're a guy who had, positive attitude, open mind, desire to improve, and tremendous skill set. And I remember saying, why do you only have $5 million under management? And you said, you were out there really helping people, solving problems, but you needed a track to run on. You said, Ken, if I had a track to run on, if I had the right systems in place that were scalable, consistent, I'm a disciplined guy my whole life, hard worker, but somebody who just for some reason been struggling to find a system. So here we are, 2005, you got $5 million. It's just you. Fast forward to today, you got over $100 million. So we're talking about a 20x growth. Tell me a little bit about, did I get that right? Is that what we're looking at?
I'll tell you the beginning. The beginning when I showed up at your program in May of 2005 and I listened to your crew talk, I kind of thought this was a little bit hokey. And does this really work? And I'll tell you what, I fought it a little, but then again, I started to drink the Kool-Aid and I started to do the workshops, the public seminars, and started to do the mailers. I started to try and put your system together. And it was a learning experience for me because coupled with me fighting it and trying to implement it by myself, I found myself in front of a lot of people that I was never in front of from doing your workshops and sending out mail that I never sent before to everybody. And I got to tell you, it took me a couple of years, maybe 3 rounds of workshops before I finally honed my craft a little. I got some more systems in place and realized that I'm not just presenting a product. It's about the client and the client experience, and made it more about them and not so much product. When I switched that and I became like AUM, then all of a sudden my business started to grow. Like about 18 months later to 2 years later, wow, I'm putting on 5 million a year, 10 million a year, 15 million a year. It's just amazing how it all came together.
So,
It-
Anthony,
it's fast.
just to run with that, I know, like, let's just kind of make sure for our listeners that they hear right. The workshops we're talking about is, we encourage you to do workshops for clients, people you know, prospects, and community, not just kind of like, hey, let's just go after Joe Public. So we started doing with intent workshops where you had a good base of people that you knew, and you knew if you can get in front of them and, like you said, present a system, present a path, present reasons for them to come in and say, hey, Anthony, I liked what you talked about. You talked about taxes. You talked about estate planning. You talked about things that I could possibly use some help with. Can I come see you? That you'd then get appointments, and appointments would lead to assets. So the long and the short of it is, you basically embraced, and we're going to drill down a little, you embraced some of these systems, but how did you first start? I mean, when you first started, did you have a succinct list of services that you offered to people, or was it like everybody else starting in a business? Depending upon what they asked for, that's what you offered.
Ken, it was really just a wild shooting from the hip. Whatever they wanted to hear, I was saying. And there was no system. There was no method. I was all over the place. But you gave me like a track. And the track was from the initial marketing of whether it's monthly mailers to a workshop track to even a track when you're sitting down talking with the clients on what are they interested in? What can I provide to them? What's the value added that I bring to them? You gave me that system. And once that system's in place, it starts to multiply.
So let's talk about that for a second, Anthony. I know, like, one of the things we encourage you is to have intentional meetings where you're sitting down with people, finding out, what's really troubling them. How easy is it for you to sit right now with $1 million prospect and identify what areas have been under-addressed and could possibly be addressed in a better way? How easy is that for you?
Well, it's funny that the fastest part of my business that's growing now are accounts $1 million and over. And how it comes about is I'm just seem to be getting more and more referrals. But what I do is I'll sit down with that husband and wife, and I'm do things the old-fashioned way. I gather their information, I listen to them, I analyze it, I'll make a recommendation. If they want to implement it, we'll implement it and move forward. And that's usually a couple of meeting process. And I'm surprised at the amount of times that people say to me, hey, we've interviewed 4 people already, and you're the guy we picked. I'm so flattered over that. But sometimes I ask them why, and they says, well, because they're always talking about themselves, and you listen to us. So I don't know if that's a difference, but it's made a difference.
And it is, Anthony. Let's talk specific. Tax planning. I know one of the things that we work on over and over again at the Academy is not tax prep, but, and we've got a lot of people who are good at tax prep, but they don't understand how do you present tax planning? How do you identify tax planning? How do you think your skill set has grown at being able to take a look at a tax form, go line by line and say to people, here are some ideas that I think are good for you?
Oh, which I learned all from you guys, Ken. You know what I find people don't hear? They all want to retire. They don't know if they have enough. Will their money last? They can't do it themselves. And what I help them do is I figure out, okay, this is what your assets are. What kind of income stream do you want to get? And let's figure out the taxes too, once you take that income stream net. And then we'll develop a plan to move forward where you go out and have fun with your grandkids. I'll keep an eye on the investments. And it provides a value-added service to them because we'll review whether it's quarterly, semi-annually, or annually and justify my services and just keep going and keep going. Clients have been clients for 20 years. It's worked very well, and they keep referring their friends, which I'm so grateful for.
Well, Anthony, and let's talk about that for a second. You mean you can't just plug that into a computer program and spit it out? You mean that thing, some of the tax strategies, for example, if this presidential election is changed, some of the tax strategies might have to change or be looked at or used?
Yeah, things, you know what? The only thing constant is change. And I learned from you guys how that these tax changes are job security for us. I think you call it the Accountant and Attorney and Financial Advisors Full Employment Act. Hey, things change constantly. And I tell everybody, hey, we'll stay on top of the changes. You go out and have fun. And we'll keep an eye on your cash flow and make sure that the investments are doing what they're supposed to. And let's see what tax changes and how they affect you. And do we have to be proactive and make some changes for next year?
So you're saying if you saw me like 10 years ago and gave me a plan and put together data points, those would have had to have changed, or there's no reasonable way in this imprecise business for us to, we can take a look at 10-year forecasts, but there's no way for us to put together a solid, concrete 10-year, here's what taxes look like. Is there, Anthony?
No, there's no cookie cutter. And you know what? Every family is different. One thing that's for sure is I think most people love their family and they want to keep their assets preserved to pass through their family. But the tax laws change it. IRA accounts are treated differently than individual accounts. That wasn't the case. We had stretch IRAs. Now we don't have stretch IRAs anymore. Things change. And the way people pass money to heirs change. And that's our job, to stay on top of it and give them recommendations.
It's funny. I know, like, for example, you said that this year with the Secure Act and some of the things that have changed, Secure Act has changed inherited IRAs. It used to be that inherited IRAs were the go-to vehicle. Now you got to take a look at, do you want to go Roth before an inherited IRA? And then you've got some of the new bills that suspended or took away the RMDs. How important is it, Anthony, that you communicate effectively these changes to your clients?
Let me tell you what's worked out fantastically. Now, we brought in $4 million of new assets in July. That's smack in the middle of this pandemic when nobody wants to see anybody or do anything. How did we get that? Well, they've been getting mail from us consistently, monthly. And what are they getting? They're getting everything that Academy of Preferred Financial Advisors has given to us regarding the Secure Act. It makes them raise their hand. They call in with questions. I tell them about the situation. When they go home and they talk to family members and friends, they're talking about us. And then next thing you know, we're getting referrals. How did we get $4 million in assets? It was from referrals. We couldn't do workshops this year. We've been doing the webinars online, but it came from years of clients getting our letters, which were all your letters, and just making the people raise the question, or they're raising the question and we're having the answers. It's a snowball effect.
Anthony, it's funny. I hear a lot of advisors and I read all this industry, nonsense that says the business has changed forever. I personally believe that the strategy of delivering a premium experience and strong advice is still the core of what we do. Mm-hmm. In a scalable way, delivering that premium experience. What we have pivoted to and what may have changed is our delivery method, as you mentioned. And can you share with us your experience? I mean, we pivoted from you renting out a restaurant and sharing these thoughts to now I get your online 15 and 20 minute videos that you're taking the slides, you're running with the script, and you're delivering, here's what the recovery might look like. Here's some things you should think about from a tax standpoint. Here are some of the strategies, because what hasn't changed is knowledge is power, which I always say. What also hasn't changed is an educated client and prospect is our best client and prospect. So what's changed is the ways in which you're educating these people. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Clients are lucky to have you. One of the things, can I ask you a question now, Anthony? When you sit down with, whether it's a review meeting, an onboarding meeting, or even a discovery meeting, do you feel you're intentional in what you're asking and how you're giving ideas? Or is it just, hey, I'll just go in there and see what's going on?
Oh, no way. There's a system to everything, even a review meeting. Whether it's a system to the initial client interview, a system for, a recommendation type meeting, or even a follow-up to monitor. There's systems to everything. And I tell you what, the systems work. It keeps you on track. And the people will always try and divert you off track with their questions, but the system brings you back on track to where you were. We're all after the same type of client, and we're all in different states. And Ken, I find with your systems, it can be done anywhere. because every state is different. My marketplace might be people working in New York City or working for Merck or people working for New Jersey Transit or Budweiser. In every state, they all have the corporations they're working for. This applies to all. I think I can pick up and move to any state and do this, just to take some time to get the message out.
I agree with you because you've been efficient, you've been scalable, you've set up standard operating procedures. Now, let's, for our listeners' sake, I know your story because you've been with me for 15 years. A few years ago, it was you and your assistant, and you took on a newer teammate. I don't like to use the word junior advisor or junior.
Yeah, there you go.
But you had the good fortune of taking on someone who is near and dear to your heart, and you've trained him. Tell us a little bit about who the other advisor is in your office and how well that's going.
Well, I was lucky enough that I brought my son in the business. Now, his path wasn't direct from college, but he found his way back here. He used to work part-time. And having gone into New York City and worked for years and doing that commute, he found that, you know what, I want to be here. But I got to tell you, I'm glad he's here because business is so good. And he's providing something that I can't provide. Being younger, his energy, excitement, enthusiasm is contagious. The people love him. And plus, he's getting to know my clients as they age. He's getting to know their children. So we're getting their kids' accounts, and their kids are telling their friends. He's enabled me to grow even further because now I can concentrate on the people I want to concentrate on. He's taking everything else. And in the meantime, he's making a bunch of money. So he's really happy.
Well,
I'm glad he's here.
I am too, because I know you have this systematized $1 million practice that's efficient, scalable, highly, you do great things for clients. Clients always come first, but you've also been very profitable because of the way you run your business. And now who better to share it with than your legacy, your son? Now, let's talk about, one person I was talking to, Anthony, told me one of the reasons he didn't want to look at our program was because he was very busy. And I was trying to explain to this gentleman that becoming a better business owner makes you more efficient. Understanding what you're doing gives you more balance. Would you say that this program's taken away from the balance? Because I know you're a family guy. You're a guy who likes to exercise daily. Has this system taken away from your work-life balance or added to it?
Well, I think it's added to it because I'm able to take off Fridays. During the summer, I like to take off Fridays. And during the month of August, well, I like to take off as much time as possible. In fact, the last 2 weeks of August, I'm taking off completely. I would never be able to do that without the systems in place. It just makes everything run when you're not here.
Now, is that, something you enjoy now? Or I remember in 2005, you had both kids in school and you told me, hey, Ken, my family comes first. My wife and my 2 boys are my life. And I will never give up time with them for success. I will manage to do both. Do you feel you have? Because when I talk to the boys, they tell me my dad, I just remember my dad always being there, not sometimes being there, always being there.
I made it a point to get to all of their soccer games, baseball games, whatever they were involved in. And I'm glad I was able to do that. And you know what? Having a good business that's growing lets you do that, and a good staff that lets you do that. You got the confidence to leave and go.
Is your son seeing that right now, that he's seeing that if he keeps building this thing the way that you did, that he could also lead that balanced and healthy life? And
you know what's great? He's a capitalist, and he's money motivated. And as he's making more and more money, he wants more and more. So good for him. You know what? Apple don't fall far from the tree. That's just the way it is. We enjoy helping people, and the money. You know what? When you're helping people and you're having fun, the money will come. And that's what we've been doing. It's been fun helping the people. And I think people really appreciate what we do for them. I can't tell you how many people leave here and they say, oh, I feel so much better. It's a great compliment when they say that.
Can I ask you a question now, Anthony? Somebody, how did you get the mindset to understand that you have to invest in your business? I was talking to somebody and say, oh, that's such an expensive investment. When I first met you, you had $5 million under management. Obviously, it's not like you had a ton of free revenue coming in from your business. What gave you the mind to say, I'm going to invest in myself, I'm going to invest in a system, and I'm going to make it work?
Well, I'll tell you what did it for me, Ken. Yeah, I had earmarked some money to do this in the beginning, and I stuck with it for a couple of years before it really started to pay off. But what gave me the conviction was when I would come to your meetings and see other guys that are just like me who were very successful. And I see there's no difference between them and myself. And then I would even talk to you guys, even the people at the meetings on, hey, here's what I'm doing and it's not working. And they'd say, hey, try this, try that. And all of a sudden it starts to click. And son of a gun. But what drove me was if they could do it, I could do it. They're successful people. I'm going to do what successful people are doing.
Well, and that takes me to a good point, Anthony. How would you characterize your peer group? The people, we've got over 300 plus practices. Would you say there are other good practices like you? Would you say there are people that have had no success, a variety of success? How would you characterize some of the people you meet at the meetings?
Oh, sometimes it's the best part of the meeting is just sitting with the rest and seeing what they're doing and see if it's the same as what I'm doing. What are you doing different that's working that I'm doing that's not working? One thing that's for sure, we're all after the same thing. Go ahead, Ken.
Would you say some of these people have had success, or they're just people trying to find it?
Oh, no. Well, if the ones that are trying to find it, maybe they need a little more time to get the systems in place. But for the good group of the good chunk of the room, I think they found it and they're working it and it's going.
Well, you told me you grew 20x. Would you be surprised to hear that, you've been with us 15 years? As you know, over 100 people have been with us almost that long. Would you be surprised if you look at some of your good friends that are in that room, like Chuck and Joe, would you be surprised that they have grown that much as well?
Oh, no, not at all. You kidding me? In fact, if they grew more, it's because they worked a little harder. That's all, a little smarter. Maybe I took off a little too much and went to soccer games. No, they just had a little better, maybe they're better at it.
No. So my point is, you're not just the only guy in the room who's grown. Do you think other people? I mean, you've planted the same types of seeds as all these other people have. We talk about exponential growth at our CEO class and how once you get your foundational activities mastered, then you can expect exponential growth. Did you find the same thing happen for you?
Ken, the exponential growth here, I'm going to give you an example. From sending out the mailers throughout the years, how does it get? It gets me a $5 million account. It got me a $10 million account. How does that happen? For years, they're on my mail list. All of a sudden, something comes across their desk where they have to call. Hey, I'm going to call this guy. He's been mailing me that long. Next thing you know, I give them the answer to their question, and shortly after, they're in the office for an appointment. So you gave me the system to get that. I got the net out now, and people are getting caught in the net.
Now, some people are now, it's funny. I want to talk about quality of message because some people are telling me, well, I just hired some system. And what I looked at, I said, you're sending out something that, in my opinion, is either noise or garbage or really isn't going to get results. These folks are sending out tax reports. These folks are sending out meaningful, like, for example, this month we've got coming out our 8-page year-end tax report that also has some ideas. If, for example, a different administration comes in, here's some things to think about. Just concrete ideas that you've been trained on to go in there and help them implement that are specific to them. Do you believe it's not just sending the information, but the quality of your message that has led you to these large accounts?
Here's how good the quality is. I have people tell me that they get stuff in the mail. It's all garbage. Our stuff, they keep on like the end table. I had a guy call me last week and ask me questions about the Secure Act mailer that we did October. Another guy will call me and ask me a question about a mailer we did last May. These people don't throw them out. They reference them later because they think, it's going to affect me. I want to read this later. I'm amazed at how many people keep our letter on their end table for a long time because the quality is good. It's not something you read and toss in the trash.
And I would agree with you, whether it's the Secure Act or the new CARES Act. I mean, there are things that people hear things on the news like this passed, that passed. It affected your retirement. It affected your ability to plan. It affected this. But what we try to do is very, very intentional and specific with here are the parts of this bill that may or may not be influential to you. And especially, you know, if you take a look at your niche, you know, you told me you're a retirement specialist. Boy, I tell you, that's an area. When you take a look, most people who are in retirement mode, nobody's ever really sat with them and said, by the way, a good portion of that IRA is going to go to taxes. Has anyone talked with you about a plan about, you know, being efficient with it?
Yeah.
Do you find that other people have addressed that efficiency, or they're just
Ken,
focusing on returns?
I just had a rollover in July as $1.7 million, and they told me they interviewed 3 other advisors beside me. And I asked them, I says, anybody ask for your tax return? And they said, no, nobody ever did. And it amazes me, how can somebody give advice without at least knowing some tax consequence?
You know, it's funny. You say that. I just talked to somebody the other day who said, I collect tax reports. And I said, well, tax forms. And I said, well, in the last one you collected, what were some of the ideas you had? Well, I don't really work that way. What are you collecting it for? I mean, our people like you go through this thing line by line. And it's not, and you know, planning ideas, no disrespect to any computer program, but planning ideas are different even for people that have the same entries. It depends on what stage they're in, what, you know, for example, if somebody, as you know, is planning on going through some gap years, having some down years in the next few years of lower income, there are certain planning strategies. If they're having accelerated years, if they're going to, the next few years say, hey, I'm going to make a lot more out of my business or work or sell my business over the next 5 years, there are other strategies. So the strategies all dependent not just on the data, but their plan. Go on.
The hardest part for me was understanding the taxes and understanding a tax return. And that took me the longest time. But how did I learn it? It was through your meetings, your presentations on it. And then I can also share my questions with other people in the group and give examples. And you guys are there to help even do case studies. That's how you learn it. And then you become comfortable and confident. And the people can read that. If you're confident in what you're talking about, those people are going to move and act. And what gave you the confidence? Everything you do.
I got to tell you, one of the greatest honors I have was to be able to do a couple of case studies with you, and then to do them with your son. I mean, it's just like I told all the people that work here. This is, to me, you know, I'm a family first guy, and to me, the greatest honor in the world is to have helped somebody build a business, and then the next generation take it to another level. It's just, Anthony, let me ask you just, you know, one of the things that I heard from somebody, and I just want to dispel this myth, is I looked at your program and I understand that you'll help me with skill set, operational excellence, marketing, client service, profitable business, work-life balance. But where I'm really struggling is in mindset. I'm really struggling that, you know, I could figure all that out. I have a CFP. I could figure all that stuff out, which the person hasn't, but I could figure all that out. I struggle with mindset. It's I need to go to a program that's more, you know, mindset oriented. Would you say that our program is motivational and mindset oriented, or would you? I said, well, you get all that and skill set, operational excellence, and all the other things too. But the person was convinced that someone who just focused just on mindset, like sort of therapy.
Well, if they're focused on mindset, well, then they're set in their ways, and it's hard to break out of your own routine. You've got to start to do things that you didn't do, or else you're going to get the same result. And for me, it was that way in the beginning. I was fighting it for a while, and I just started to go with it. You go with it. These systems work. It made me turn the corner.
Well, and would you say that it comes in a motivational way, or do you say, oh boy, if Ken brought it, Ken needs to bring in motivational speakers?
No,
is there energy coming from that front, or?
There's a lot of energy coming from that Ken, when you do your presentation, it's very motivational. I know every time I leave those meetings, I feel energized. I come back excited, ready to go. This is what we're going to implement. Even if it's just 1 or 2 items we're going to implement, that's 6, 7 new ideas a year. And you know what? I'm still doing it 15 years later, and I still feel like I'm coming back with, this is something new we got to start doing. This is what we got to put in. And business just keeps growing, so.
Well, and I will tell you, Anthony, it's one thing I don't think has changed is meaningful client servicing is always the centerpiece of a successful practice. Would you agree with that?
I agree, 1,000%.
So with that, Anthony, I just, on behalf of everyone out there, clients, prospects, other advisors, I know you add as much value as you get out of our program because your enthusiasm, who you are and how you act. I mean, couldn't meet a better family guy, couldn't meet a more skilled advisor, couldn't meet somebody who offers a premium client experience and strong advice more so than you. Is there anything else you'd share with others to grow their business?
Yeah, I'll say this. Everybody has the skill. Get on board. Get on board. Get on track. We're all traveling down the same track side by side. This will keep you focused and your business will grow.
Anthony, I got to thank you. I know you sound almost like a commercial for us, but that's not,
You know what, Ken? It's true. That's why. It's true.
I appreciate it, man. But
they can call me anytime.
I know you pivoted like everyone else did. You're having a great year again this year. You invest in your firm. You're doing things. So, last question I lead you with. Here you are 15 years later. You got this $1 million practice. You got your son in there. Do you find that at this point in your life, you're able to enjoy the work-life balance and the healthy rewards of being in this business for a long term?
Yes, and it's all going to be on the way to a $2 million business.
I know that. You're closing in on it pretty quickly. I know you got one or two others that, one of the things we get and I say this in a nice way, we get some competitive spirit in that room, and you know who I'm talking about, some of your friends in there that say, how's Scibetta growing so fast? You got to catch that guy. I'm attracted to your energy levels, Anthony. I wish I could take credit for your work ethic, but I know you're a major college football player and, somebody who's got so much success in so many other areas of your life. Proven success in your life, intelligence and dedication, along with your positive attitude, open mind, and desire to improve has made you a monster and remarkable success in this business. So I appreciate, the one thing I do love about you too, about that Scibetta family, you guys are about as authentic as you get. You're just good people.
Thank you,
just
Ken.
good people. I mean,
thank
you.
I appreciate all you guys do, believe me.
And I love the fact that now I'm seeing your son show up on the videos, and he's become the face of the organization this last year. Boy, how you been able to delegate and pass the baton. Really proud of you.
Okay. Thank you, Ken.
Really proud of you. Okay, so on behalf of everyone out there, I'd like to thank you. Once again, this was 5-Star Tips Podcast, the Proven Success Series. It's a podcast that's devoted to not just hopes and dreams, but actual success. Today we had Anthony Scibetta, who went from $5 million to well over $100 million, on his way to 200, actually. Here's a guy who's grown more. It's at least 25x, in 15 years, which, wasn't straight line growth, but it's been sequential. It's growing in leaps and bounds. I invite you to call us if you have any questions on how you could experience that as well. And Anthony, I'm sure I speak on behalf of you. Join Anthony, because I don't see any reason why you're a lifetime learner. I don't see any reason why you won't be part of this group for the next decade.
You got it.
Anthony, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Ken. We'll hope to see you soon.
I do too. Stay safe, stay healthy. My best to all the Scibettas. And once again, on behalf of the Academy of Preferred Financial Advisors, we partner with the industry's best advisors. You certainly are amongst the elite. So thank you for your time.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 5-Star Tips. For show notes, please visit www.theapfa.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and share it with a friend. And don't forget to sign up for our email list. For more information on the Academy of Preferred Financial Advisors, please visit our website at www.theapfa.com. That's www.theapfa.com. Or give us a call at 866-866-0472 with any questions you may have.